I'm gonna need your badge, Mara. That's the first thing he said. No thank you, no we appreciate everything you've done. Just those 6 words, sliding out of his mouth like chewed up gum hitting the floor. And there he was, Theo, the new VP of Product Disruption, or whatever the hell his LinkedIn peacocks these days. Fresh haircut, tight shirt, and that smug-ass smile like he just discovered PowerPoint. We were standing in the third-floor glass coffin they call the Innovation Den, which is code for no walls, no privacy, and not enough air circulation for a decent panic attack. I still had the code window open on my laptop. I was mid-deploy on a hotfix that would have patched a bug in the queue and a latency algorithm, the very one that'll tank investor confidence if it hiccups during tomorrow's live stream. But sure, let's talk about my transition. Due to restructuring, said some HR ghost sitting beside him with the emotional range of an unplugged toaster, your role has been deemed redundant. Redundant. After 12 goddamn years architecting the AI backbone of this entire clown circus, I was now redundant, like a fax machine, like a goddamn paperclip. Theo didn't even pretend to hide the glee. You're talented, Mara. I'm sure you'll land on your feet, he said, while adjusting the cuff of his overpriced shirt like his wrist had a podcast deal. And you know what? That was the moment. Not when they said I was out. Not when the HR drone slid that severance packet across the glass like I was contagious. It was when Theo leaned in, all corporate cologne and fake empathy, and said, "We'll be fine without you." I handed him my badge with a smile so sharp it could have sliced his Bluetooth headset cord, and informed the investors why their live demo vanishes in 8 minutes, including the Q&A, and I walked out. No door slam, no middle finger. Just me and my echoing footsteps and one tiny blinking notification on my phone, admin session active, 47 minutes remaining. You ever watch someone try to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded while being chased by bees? That's what's about to hit Theo's world. And hey, if you're still listening, do me one favor, tap that subscribe button. Not just for me, though revenge stories do hit harder in surround sound, but because 97% of y'all are lurking like ghosts in a Slack channel. We see you, and this twisted ride, it's just getting started. Our team gets weirdly emotional about that little red button, so give it a poke, yeah? By the time I reached the elevator, my face had returned to neutral. The kind of calm that comes after a thunderstorm flattens your fence. The kind of peace you only feel when you know someone else is about to learn what happens when they unplug the wrong server. Now, let me explain something to you because Theo didn't ask, and that's his first mistake. That whole investor demo, the voice assistant, the perfectly synced auto slide deck, the queue and a bot that pings answers mid-live stream like some kind of digital oracle? Yeah, it's not running on the main cloud. I built that baby myself. Secured, firewalled, double authenticated with tokens so tight you'd need a retinal scan from my ghost to get in. Not because I didn't trust the company, but because I knew one day it'd come to this. You don't spend 12 years watching executives come and go like seasonal allergies without planning an exit protocol. And guess what? The session stays alive until I log out. After that, no access, no backups, no mirror instance in the main environment. Just a whole lot of broken links and spinning wheels. They thought I was just the architect. They forgot I was also the gatekeeper. I walked through the lobby and into the parking lot, breathing in that special kind of air that only shows up when your career's on fire and you're the one holding the gasoline. They gave me severance, but I kept the system. 8 minutes, Theo, tick. Goddam, talk, Tuesday, 10:14 p.m. Office lights humming like a dying fridge, everyone else gone home. My only companions? A stale granola bar, 3 cold coffee cups, and a code window glowing like divine retribution. This was supposed to be the moment. The grand finale. 12 years of wrangling neural nets, teaching them how not to call a client Greg when their name's Margaret, and now the system actually worked. AI voice assistant handled investor questions in real time, cross-referencing CRM entries, tailoring answers to past calls, even faking empathy just enough to pass the boardroom sniff test. I'd spent months syncing it to the live slide deck, ensuring the queue and a bot responded during the pitch, not after. Seamless, elegant, maybe even art. Then came the footsteps. Theo, smelling like fresh ego and mediocre wine, strolled in like he owned the place. He leaned against the edge of my desk, arms crossed, watching my monitor like he was trying to spot a typo with his jawline. "This is cute," he said, "but don't you think it's a little over-engineered?" I didn't look up, just saved my work. "Final build V9 clean for demo Mary only it's modular," I said, keeping it civil. "Failover routines, sync logic, encryption layers, standard stuff." He laughed. "No one cares how it works, Mara. They care that it looks shiny on the slide deck and doesn't fart during the live stream." I nearly offered to reprogram the bot to fart on cue, but I swallowed that one. I've had this conversation before, just never with someone so proud of understanding so little. "You're spending too much time inside the wires," he added. "Try thinking higher level. Big picture, buddy. Only picture I saw was you getting hoisted out of this building when this whole thing collapses under your brittle charisma." I minimized the terminal, took a screenshot of the final log, and uploaded the encrypted build to my mirror server. Not Oz, not Azure. Nothing tied to the company's infrastructure. Just a hardened VPS sitting in Iceland, paid for under my LLC, used exclusively for air-gapped builds. It started as a backup, a failsafe, and it became the real thing. Because if you want your system to work every time, you keep it out of the hands of people like Theo. The test suite completed, 98.7% accuracy. I smiled finally. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Across the office, Theo had started spinning in the ergonomic chair like a toddler in a lobby. Make sure your team has a rollback plan in case this craps out during the pitch, he said, spinning once more for emphasis. I am the team, I muttered, but he didn't hear it over the sound of his own twirling. I left at midnight, badge beep echoing through the empty hallway. The final version was locked, timestamped, and tagged with my private key. If you didn't know where to look, you wouldn't even know it existed. And honestly, that's how I liked it. Because here's the thing. The moment you get too comfortable with people like Theo running your show is the moment they decide you're expendable. And I'd seen too many good systems die under bad leadership to leave this one in their hands. He thought I was building a product. I was building a trap. Friday, 9:32 a.m. The office smelled like printer toner and doom. I was mid-sip on my burnt coffee when Theo's assistant, some intern with too much gel and not enough soul, popped into my office like a weasel in khakis. Theo wants to see you in 5B. Now. No pleasantries, no warning, just now. I knew, you work somewhere long enough, you learn to smell layoffs the way dogs smell storms. My chair still held my heat when I walked out. Theo was waiting in 5B like he'd just finished watching himself in a training montage. HR rep next to him, tapping her tablet like she had a brunch to get to. Mara, thank you for coming, she said. I know this is unexpected. They always say that like it's supposed to soften the blow. Theo didn't wait for the HR pleasantries to wrap. He cut in like a man who thought decisiveness meant interrupting people smarter than him. You've been an asset, Mara. But with the new structure, we're pivoting toward leaner teams, more agile workflows. I blinked. Once, that's all he was getting. The AI suite will continue, he added with that same goddamn smirk. We'll be fine without you. That's when something shifted. It wasn't rage. That would have been too loud, too obvious. No, it felt was colder. A glacier moving behind the ribs, measured. I stood, pulled the badge from my belt, and laid it gently on the table like it was a loaded weapon. Then I looked him dead in the eye and said it soft like a lullaby dipped in arsenic. Then inform the investors why their live demo vanishes in 8 minutes, including the Q&A, silence pure and still as a crime scene. HR's fingers froze mid-scroll. Theo chuckled. Is that a joke? I didn't answer. He leaned back in his chair like he was trying to grow taller. You're bluffing. Still no answer. I turned and walked out, slow and unbothered, like I'd just dropped a lit match in a pile of dry leaves and was headed to lunch. In the hallway, I passed the product team, hunched over laptops, polishing that last-minute investor slide deck. They smiled at me. I smiled back. No one knew yet. No one but me. Outside, the sun hit my face like a dare. I pulled out my phone. No notifications. I opened the server console app. Session active. Time remaining, 7:53 back in the building, the clock started ticking. They'd built this whole thing on top of a system they didn't understand. They thought I was just a brick in the wall, but I was the foundation. And I just walked out with the blueprints in my back pocket. Theo could call IT. He could call legal. He could chant affirmations into a candle while standing on a Segway for all I care. But in 8 minutes, his little investor fantasy was going to fall apart like gluten-free cake in a rainstorm. And the best part? He wouldn't even know how it happened. Theo didn't panic right away. Because men like Theo never panic first, they delegate it. He probably tossed a casual ping IT over his shoulder like he was ordering a latte, then went back to adjusting his collar and practicing that visionary squint he saved for investor calls. Meanwhile, somewhere in the bowels of the office, a junior techie named Gabe was watching the terminal spit out red errors like a slot machine rigged by Satan. Environment not found. Sync failed. Queue in a module, offline. At 9:35 a.m., I slid into a cracked vinyl booth at the halftime bar across the street. It smelled like mop water and bad decisions, perfect for a Friday morning betrayal. I ordered a whiskey sour before my coat hit the seat. Pulled out my opened the console. Instant session expires in 6:24. The green glow of the countdown flickered like a heartbeat, steady and inevitable. Every tick meant one less breath for Theo's demo. I sipped my drink and watched the reflection of the TV in the bar mirror, some daytime show playing silently, two people arguing about paternity or patio furniture, I couldn't tell. But all I saw was Theo's dumb, shiny face when the lights start blinking and the investors realize their cue and a bot has ghosted them harder than their kids on Father's Day. Back in the office, someone would have tried pinging the server manually. Then the VPN, then the internal Git. And slowly, like a cold front rolling in, it'd start to dawn on them. Nothing's there, no backup, no dev environment, just a bunch of shortcut folders linking to dead air. See, what they didn't know, what I made damn sure was invisible unless you already knew, was that the entire live investor demo was running from a sandboxed mirror. No domain name, no shared credential vault, not even in the cloud they assumed. Just a server that lived outside their reach, built with the same obsessive paranoia I reserve for gas station sushi. Why? Because I learned early. People will smile in your face while they copy-paste your legacy into their pitch decks. So you build quiet traps, not out of malice, but out of muscle memory. I checked my phone again. 6:08, not long now. A second drink slid across the table, on the house. Apparently the bartender liked my stare down with the clock. Meanwhile, somewhere across the street, Theo, try rebooting the environment. IT, we can't find the environment, sir. Theo, it's gotta be on the main repo. IT, there's nothing tagged for Friday's build. No deployment logs, no endpoint paths, nothing. Theo, check the backups. CTO, we don't even have access to the credentials. Everything's been running off a single admin session. Theo, whose session? And then the pause. The kind of pause where you realize the chair you're sitting in is actually an ejector seat. They'd built the whole demo around a ghost, and that ghost was now sipping whiskey across the street, watching the world try to remember how I made it all look easy. 5:44. I'd give it another 2 drinks before someone starts yelling. 9:44 a.m. I stirred the cherry in my drink like I was disarming a bomb. Back in the office, they were officially in scramble mode. My phone vibrated once, twice, then again like it was being interrogated. Notifications stacked like dominoes. Where's the queue in a module? Did you deploy the backup? Hey, just checking, did you move the staging repo? Each one more desperate than the last. I ignored them. Meanwhile, the queue in a bot, the crown jewel of this overpriced circus, was flatlining. Engineers ran simulation queries, and instead of polished investor responses like, our Q3 uptick was driven by targeted engagement, they were getting nonsense like, null object not instance of reply handler. Or worse, canned default lines like that's a great question. With no actual follow-up, just dead air. You know what investors really hate? Empty optimism. The CTO, a guy I didn't hate until he decided collaborative leadership meant copying my architecture into Theo's slide deck, was now holding emergency triage in the war room. I could picture it, 5 engineers around the monitor, whispering like someone just died. Truth is, the system hadn't failed. It was simply obeying. My last session, my credentials, were the gatekeepers. Once the clock ticked down, the system entered sandbox lockdown, like a dog trained to bark only when I said go. They thought they could feed it leftovers and call it steak. But now, all they had was a mute AI and a spreadsheet full of blank cells. Then my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in over a year, Colin. He was a junior dev back in the early build days, smart guy, used to bring lemon donuts to deployments like it was a tradition. He'd spent enough late nights arguing over YAML files that he knew my habits better than most. His message read, hey, did you encrypt the node keys? They can't find the queue in AI. Theo's about to lose it. I grinned, subtle, respectful, like tapping on a locked door just to hear it echo. I didn't reply, because yes, I had encrypted the node keys. And no, they wouldn't find them. Not unless they figured out the naming convention I buried 3 folders deep inside a dummy repo disguised as a legacy Jira import. And even then, good luck figuring out which salted hash unlocks the brain of an AI I trained to recognize my voice print during the build phase. Theo, meanwhile, refused to cancel. Canceling would mean admitting defeat. No, he doubled down. We'll keep the demo light, he probably barked. Focus on the slides. Mention the AI suite in Q&A. It's just software, we'll fix it live. It's just software. That's like calling a nuclear reactor a glorified tea kettle. My drink was almost empty. I flagged the bartender for another and glanced at my console again. Session expires in 3:11, 3 minutes until the locks bolt shut. And still, no one had figured out that what they were looking for wasn't missing. It had left the building with me. 10 o'clock a.m. sharp. It went live. 30 investors on the Zoom call, all waiting for miracles in deck form. Cameras on, smiles fake, tie knots suffocating. Most of them had one tab open for the demo and another for the live stock tracker, just in case this revolutionary AI showcase actually moved the needle. Theo opened with his usual frosted arrogance. Thank you all for joining. Today, we're thrilled to present our proprietary AI demo suite, seamless, intelligent, and fully automated. He said it like he'd coded it himself, probably while sipping turmeric lattes and shouting at interns. I watched from my booth at the halftime bar, third drink in, boots up on the empty seat across from me like I was settling in for a rerun of a show I already knew the ending to. My phone screen was dim but still glowing. Session expires in 0:47 showtime. They kicked off the demo. Slide 1, fine. Voice assistant chirped its opening lines. Welcome, and thank you for your interest in our then nothing. Dead mid-sentence, like the AI had forgotten how to English. One of the investors raised an eyebrow. Another reached for their pen like they were about to start a death tally. Then the slides, out of sync. Slide 2 flipped before the sentence ended. Slide 3 froze halfway through a transition. By minute 4, they were manually clicking through the deck. You could feel the panic start to creep through the room like a gas leak. Theo tried to smooth it over. Little hiccup here, folks. Our engineers are just making minor adjustments on the backend. Cut to backend. Engineers screaming into Slack threads. CTO pacing like a man waiting on biopsy results. One brave soul rebooted the queue and a module. Nothing. Another tried accessing the session logs. Access denied. credentials invalid. 10:07:41 the video froze. Mid-sentence, mid-pitch, mid-lie. Theo's face, mouth open in a still frame that looked like someone had just shown him his own bank balance post-lawsuit. The Q&A interface, which had been sitting smug and silent in the demo sidebar, blinked once, then disappeared. No fail message, no graceful exit, just gone. My console flashed once. Session expired, then every tab dimmed to gray. Server console locked. Access revoked. Logs cleared. Like a magician snapping her fingers after the trick ends and everything vanishes into smoke. I exhaled slow. It wasn't just satisfaction. It was that wicked, sharp-edged version of it, like biting into a stolen apple and realizing it's sweeter than anyone you ever paid for. Across the bar, the old man nursing his third light beer looked up at the sound of me setting my glass down a little too hard. I gave him a nod, like cheers to collateral damage, and ordered one more. Back in the call, Theo tried to cover. Let's take some questions and then we'll circle back to the demo features. Silence. No AI to buffer, no canned responses, no synthetic charm to lean on, just 30 investors staring at a frozen stream watching a man try to resuscitate a ghost. I checked the dashboard one last time. It was blank now, neutral, clean, like none of it had ever existed. Because now, to them it didn't. 10:10 a.m. The screen on my phone stopped flickering. No more console logs, no more heartbeat from the system. Just a flat, clean silence that felt more final than any logout chime. I leaned back in the booth, kicked off one shoe, and watched the live stream mirror I'd pulled up on my second phone. They hadn't killed the video feed yet. That was their first mistake. Now the show was in its tragic second act, where the clown realizes the safety net is just decorative ribbon. Theo was still live, mouth moving, words flailing. Confidence bleeding out of him like air from a sad balloon. Completely unexpected, folks were just running a secondary sync. His tie was crooked, his collar sweat dark, his pupils scanning like he was reading cue cards that didn't exist. Behind him, the CTO leaned in and whispered something into his ear, hand cupped like it mattered. My phone buzzed a second later. CTO, we can't reboot. It's gone. 3 words, no punctuation. Just the naked dread of someone who realized the parachute was decorative. One investor blinked off the call, then another, and another. The participant counter at the bottom of the screen started shedding numbers like a botched earnings report. 29, 27, 25. Someone must have slacked PR because seconds later, the company's official Twitter feed tweeted a bland, typo-riddled message about temporary connectivity issues during a high-demand demonstration. It got ratioed within 3 minutes. In the bar, the old man 2 booths over asked if I wanted the sports channel back on. I waved him off and smiled. Nah, the real game's on. Theo was still sweating, rambling about cloud infrastructure latency and unexpected DNS rerouting, which was hilarious because the system wasn't on DNS. Never was. Behind him, the PR director looked like someone just told her dog died and she was live on television. Her lipstick had smudged. She was typing furiously, probably emailing an apology script and a resignation letter in the same doc. The head of legal popped in frame, leaned down, and said something to Theo, lips tight and eyes narrowed like she was calculating lawsuits per second. And then came the kicker. The CEO, usually never seen before 11 a.m. unless there's press or pizza, suddenly appeared in the background like a summoned ghost. No blazer, shirt untucked, eyes locked on a phone like it held the nuclear codes. My phone buzzed again. This time it was direct. CEO private, Mara, call me please, then again. CEO, we need to recover the demo. Immediately, I stared at the messages, paused, then locked the phone and slid it face down on the sticky table. Across the screen, Theo ran out of words. His mouth moved, but the sound was static. Even Zoom had given up trying to make him coherent. The only thing worse than a man with no plan is one who just realized the plan belonged to someone else the whole time. It was like watching a sitcom rerun where the punchline hits a beat too late. I'd seen it all before: bravado, ignorance, collapse. Only this time. Laugh track was mine. 7:42 p.m. Same bar, same booth. Bartender had switched shifts, but the whiskey kept coming steady. I was nursing my 4th and a half when the first email landed. Subject line, urgent, please call me from Mallory, EVP of Strategic Ops. A woman who once told me my job was too technical to explain in board meetings, but now apparently needed me more than electrolytes in a desert. I didn't open it right. Instead, I rewatched the final 10 seconds of the demo disaster. Someone had leaked the investor recording. The freeze frame of Theo mid-sentence, hands awkwardly gesturing, mouth open like he'd just learned vowels, was already a meme. Someone had captioned it when the cloud floats away. Brutal, accurate. My phone buzzed again. Mallory, we need to recover the demo environment. ASAP, please call me. Any rate, any terms. 2 minutes later, Mallory, triple your consulting fee. Full NDA, CEO approved, discretion guaranteed. I stared at that line for a while. Triple. Funny how fast the value of your work skyrockets when the system stops pretending it can run without you. But it wasn't the money, it never was. Money was just noise, background static. What I wanted was clarity. I wanted them to know. To sit in the echo chamber of their arrogance and realize that the woman they dismissed with a $2,000 severance and a smile held the keys to their credibility and decided to let them sweat. I ordered food for the first time all day, something fried and vaguely circular. Ate it slow while the messages kept rolling in. CTO, if we fly you in tonight, can we have it online by morning? Legal. We can add a liability waiver for the transition terms. Just need your digital sign-off. Theo, nothing, of course. He'd gone radio silent, or maybe HR already had him stuffed in a manila envelope labeled oops. Either way, the only thing he'd be demoing now was his job hunt. I opened a fresh reply window, took my time typing, then deleted the whole thing, started again, typed just one sentence. Depends, is Theo still grinning? Sent. No sign-off, no pleasantries, just that because the power had shifted. They knew it. Now I wasn't the one knocking on their glass office. They were standing on the sidewalk, staring up at a building with no door, realizing I took the hinges with me. Monday, 11:59 a.m. A fresh link hit investor inboxes like a digital olive branch. Demo 2.0 with consultant. They dressed it up as a new iteration with strategic partnership support, but everyone knew what it really was. A reboot wrapped in a white flag. 12 o'clock p.m. sharp, the live stream blinked to life. And there I was. Hair down, blazer on, calm as a monk at a demolition derby. No nervous shuffle, no corporate filler. Just me, the system I built, and 30 muted investors staring through their webcams like they'd seen a ghost rise from the server graveyard. Good afternoon, I said. Let's begin. The AI voice assistant kicked in, fluent, confident, buttery smooth. Each response matched every cue. Every slide snapped in perfect rhythm. No delays, no hiccups, just that satisfying hum of machine running exactly the way it was meant to. Because now, it knew who was home. Behind me, the Q&A interface bloomed to life like a redeemed sinner. Queries rolled in, and the bot answered them like it had a PhD in investor relations and a grudge against failure. Every response carried my fingerprints, weighted, trained, finessed for this moment. In the footer of the demo screen, just subtle enough to twist the knife, appeared a watermark, powered by Mara Systems, LLC. No bigger than a fortune cookie message, but every investor saw it. At 12:08, while I was walking them through the AI's ethical compliance matrix and how it filtered language based on client personality scores, I caught a flicker in the background feed. Security logs, internal access report. A name blinked red. Theodore Carlson. Keycard deactivated. I didn't pause, didn't flinch, I just kept talking. So with sentiment-aware phrasing, we ensure responses maintain both legal compliance and brand tone. Any questions? I swear I heard one investor chuckle through their mic. Might have been the CEO, hard to say, and then came the cherry. At 12:21, the CEO appeared on screen. Smile tight, voice forced into grateful leader mode. We're proud to announce that Mara, founder of Mara Systems, will be advising us directly for the next 18 months as part of a long-term strategic engagement. He didn't look left, didn't look right, because Theo wasn't there. And we thank Theo Carlson for his service, the CEO added, like a priest reading the names of the fallen. He'll be pursuing new opportunities outside the organization. I tilted my head, smiled, and delivered the final line of the demo with the same serenity I had when I walked out Friday morning. Now that's fine without me. This one hit different, because it wasn't just revenge, it was precision. The kind of silent power move that only works when you know your worth and wait for the right moment. Never underestimate the person keeping your systems running quietly in the background. They're usually the one holding the detonator. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. Subscribe for more chaos. Let's make your old managers spill their coffee in fear.